To order. 1 o'clock on the dot. Agenda additions and approval. Are there any additions from staff?
No additions.
Anything from board members? Seeing none, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda? Mr. Gender, thank you. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Minutes, March 26th, minute meeting, page 3 of the package. Gentlemen, anything that sticks out for you? Errors or omissions? Mr. Stolberg?
I've read through them. I see none. I'll move them.
Okay, all those in, or no questions? All those in favor? That is also carried. Nothing business arising from minutes, introductions. We have everybody we know here. Anybody online?
No.
Good, thank you. Excellent. Development permits, 6.1, page 6 of the package, gentlemen. Who's taking it? Okay, it looks like it's Rich all day long.
I don't think your mic is on though. Yeah, you'll have to hold down a little button. There you go. Sorry about that.
Are you working?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the purpose of this application is to consider a Western wear and tack consignment store deemed to be a home business, which is a discretionary use in this agricultural district. The subject property is located on Highway 601, south of Red Willow. See area map below. The applicant is proposing to use a 1,200 square foot existing detached ancillary building for the sale of Western clothes and tack. The applicant estimates between 5 to 10 customers per week and indicates the only employees will be residents of the subject property. There is ample parking available on site and clear sight lines from the approach onto Highway 601. The surrounding properties consist of residential and agricultural uses. The applicant has a transportation and economic corridors permit for the proposed development as well. Land use bylaw states that a home business means that it is the secondary use of a principal dwelling unit by the permanent residents of that dwelling without the help of outside employees to conduct business activity, trade, or occupation. A home business requires a discretionary use development permit that shall not be approved unless the home business complies with the following regulations. It's like that, I've lost my page. Sorry, guys, the computer glitched on me here. So the home business is to be operated as a secondary use to the principal residential use. No person other than the permanent residents of the property shall be engaged in the business. The business shall not interfere with the rights of the adjacent landowners to the quiet and private enjoyment of the property, and the home business shall not adversely affect the amenities of the surrounding area. And shall not produce nuisances such as noise, vibration, smoke, dust, odor, glare, heat, or electrical or radio disturbances. Shall not generate additional traffic that is uncharacteristic of the area. And except for emergency situations, home business traffic shall be restricted to regular business hours. So you can go through all the conditions there, and the application does meet all of those. The applicant is proposing that only the the applicant resides on the subject property. The applicant has indicated that the employees of the business will be residents of the property. The subject property is set back 530 feet from the road and is screened by a mature shelter belt from adjacent properties. The nearest neighbor is over half a kilometer to the south. The business will be contained within the shop and will not generate any nuisances to adjacent neighbors. Traffic generated will not be uncharacteristic to the neighborhood. Business will only occupy 12% of the gross floor area of the principal dwelling and ancillary structures. No alterations are proposed to accommodate the business, and the business will operate within regular business hours and have ample parking to accommodate employees and customers. There are no commercial vehicles proposed for this development. The application was referred out to county staff and no issues or concerns were raised with the proposed development. So you see The red block on the pictures shows that's the building that she's proposing to operate the business out of. It's not a new construction, it's an existing dwelling on the property. It does meet all the setbacks. So alternatives for the MPC are to approve the discretionary use development permit application for a home business, subject to the conditions put forward by administration, or approve the application based on revised conditions. Postpone the decision on the application to receive further information, or deny the application stating the reasons. And I have attached the draft development permit with just the standard conditions on there. Nothing that stands out. They have their Alberta Transportation Corridor permit. So that concludes my presentation.
Go ahead, Mr. McKay.
I'll move that we approve this. This is presented with the
Development permit. Okay. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you, gentlemen. 6.2, 25012, Adam, 17 of your package, gentlemen. Janet Adam. And Rich, you're taking this one as well? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The purposes of the application is to consider a canvas covered structure to be an ancillary building, and it's an oversized ancillary building with a height variance, which is a discretionary use in the Hamlet Residential District. The subject property is located in the hamlet of Red Willow and is surrounded by residential properties, as you can see in the map below. The applicant is in the process of consolidating lots 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16, and is proposing to erect a 60-foot by 30-foot by 22-foot high canvas structure ancillary building with an area of 1,800 square feet. The ancillary building is classified as oversized and needs a height variance to allow it to be 22 feet from the regular 16-foot requirement. So it's a 38% variance. The applicant has a transportation and economic corridors permit for the proposed development permit with a condition of no new access from Highway 1. So that means that the only access to get into the property where this building will be is through that back alley. The land use bylaw states that on any parcel of land or in the country residence or any other district, including residential districts, the maximum ground floor of a permitted use ancillary building is 1,500 square feet. The maximum ground floor of a discretionary use is 3,000 square feet. So, notwithstanding the provisions of any land use district, the development of a canvas covered structure as either a principal building or ancillary building on any parcel of land adjacent to or within a multi-lot subdivision, hamlet, village, or town shall be a discretionary use in the Municipal Planning Commission. In its sole discretion, may approve the development permit application for such. So, and it also goes on to state that the Municipal Planning Commission may allow a variance of any rear or side yard or height requirement or correct an omission or other defect to address a site-specific condition, any of which, in the opinion of the Development Authority, could cause unreasonable hardship or would not unduly interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood or materially affect the use, enjoyment, or value of adjacent parcels of land. So the proposed ancillary building is proposed to provide storage for the RV and several vehicles that the applicant currently has stored out on the subject property. You can see in the photo there, everything that is in that parcel adjacent to the house is proposed to be stored inside the ancillary building. In the opinion of the Development Authority, having the items stored inside the structure will improve the aesthetic of the property and clean up the yard. This will have a positive effect on the surrounding properties and will not cause any hardship or unduly interfere with the neighboring properties' values or enjoy their ability to enjoy their property. The application was referred out to administration with no comments back that against it. You can go through the site inspection photos. The first picture is the subject property where they're proposing to place it. The second photo is of surrounding like the surrounding properties. And then the final photo, if you go down one more page, yeah. So that's all the things that are going to be stored inside the structure, and that's what the structure itself will look like once it's erect. It does meet all the required setbacks other than the maximum height, so it does require a variance to address that. And again, the same alternatives. The recommendation is that we approve the development permit with the attached conditions, and the big, I guess the one that stands out is that we put a condition in there that there will be no access off of the highway onto the property, and that access will have to be through the alleyway back.
Okay, and my apologies, there's a little mix up. This is actually page 34 of our packet. Or page 20, I mean, not 17, as I said before. Mr. Clark?
Just a question on these park style buildings, and is there any specs through safety codes or anything? Because you see some of these boxed ones that are for sale on some of the media sites, and it concerns me that we could be putting something up that could be tattering and could be an issue, because I've looked at some of these buildings myself, and I just question how long their durability is going to be.
We're not accredited through safety code, so I can't speak to the safety code side of it, whether they would need a building permit to put it up. But if the structure were to become tattered and unsightly, we could definitely address it that way.
It looks like this might be an improvement. The only concern that I have is on the site plan. When we're doing this, I got to get to the which page? Yeah. So, is there enough? Should it not be turned 90 degrees so that when you're pulling into it, because it looks to me like you're going to have trouble getting into it at the ends, because what I'm seeing on this is that it's the ends, right?
So the way it was described to us is once everything is cleared off, so they're going to consolidate all of these parcels together.
Mm-hmm.
So they have access.
Okay, no, that answers my question. Okay. Any questions or concerns, gentlemen? Mr. McKay?
I'll move that we approve the discretionary use for this development permit.
No questions, concerns? Seeing none, I'll ask the question. All those in favor? Okay, excellent. So 6.3, and this one's going to be page 34 of our package, gentlemen. And Rich, you're taking this one as well?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So the purpose of this development permit application is to consider an ancillary building with a height variance from 12.67 feet to 17 feet, which is a 34% variance, and a variance to the front yard setback from 25 feet to 20 feet, which is a 20% variance, and a recreational vehicle to be used as a dwelling unit, which is a discretionary use in the Resort Residential Community Service District. The subject property is located in Roshan Sands Heights at 14 Marina Place and is surrounded by residential properties. The applicant is proposing to build a 26 by 36 ancillary building and an attached 12 by 26 covered carport in the front yard. The applicant is also proposing a recreational vehicle for use as a dwelling on the property. The ancillary building will need a front yard setback of 20% and a height variance of 34%. The RV to be used as a dwelling is a 2015 Sprinter. The applicant has identified on their site plan plans for a future dwelling on the subject property, but that development is not part of this application. Guys, my computer, maybe I should have grabbed Craig's. Keeps skipping 10 pages.
Got a little bit of a glitch going on.
Section 110.3 of the land use bylaw.
Let's switch. We're going to take 2 seconds here. We're going to switch you out because, no, it's all good. So now if this one messes up, we know it's the computer. It's operating error.
So section 110.3 of the land use bylaws amended provides for the use of an ancillary building with a height and front yard variances of recreational vehicle for use as a dwelling unit as a discretionary use in this district. So section 43.9 provides the front yard setback of 25 feet from the front property line. 43.9, the maximum height of a detached ancillary building can't be higher than the RV unit of your principal use of the building. So that's why the maximum height for the ancillary building on this application would have been the 12.6 feet, which doesn't give much of a height for a garage.
But if they build a house, we wouldn't have to, okay.
Right.
Fair enough.
So again, the MPC has the ability to consider a variance, considering that the proposed development would not interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood or affect neighboring properties. And so we can allow those variances. We have the authority to do so. The RE is not more than 15 years old at the time the permit it's being applied for. So section 43.9 states that the maximum height of the ancillary building shall be equal to the height of the principal building on the subject property. In this case, that would make the maximum height of the proposed garage to only be 12.6 feet in height. That is a very low height restriction for a structure. Most ancillary buildings in this district are 14 to 16 feet high. Therefore, what the applicant is proposing for a height will actually match what is already existing in the surrounding area. The application was referred out to county staff. No issues or concerns were received pertaining to the proposed development. As you can see on the site plan, that the box to the north is where the RV is going to be located. This is their permit expired, so they're just applying for a new one. The red box to the south is where the garage will be constructed, and there's a more detailed site plan, but it's hard to see it as you scroll down at this scale. But if you keep going down, there are some elevation drawings for the proposed ancillary building, so it gives you an idea of what they're proposing. Very much matches what is existing in the neighborhood.
Okay.
So the same alternatives to consider. Recommendation is that we approve the development permit as presented with the conditions attached to the attached development permit.
Okay. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, can I get a motion?
I do have a question first. Did the applicant indicate when the dwelling might be added? Was it any kind of a time frame at all?
So he's online. We could probably put that question to him if you like. He did answer the question to me, but
Just go ahead.
yeah, he had told me that, maybe within a 5-year window, but he does not have a, concrete start date in mind.
Okay, no, I was just curious on that. I was hoping it wouldn't be too far down the road, but I'm prepared to make the motion to approve this application then.
Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Okay. Next up, 6.4 listers page, and this one I think gets us back to page 45 of our package. Yes, okay, there we go. And Rich again?
Yeah. It's the right page here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This application is to consider the placement of a CCAN deemed to be an ancillary building, which is a permitted use in the airport district. However, due to the subject property being adjacent to a multi-lot subdivision, the use of the CCAN makes this application discretionary. Property is located at the airport and surrounded by residential and agricultural uses. The applicant is proposing to place a 40-foot sea can along the south or east side of lot number 7. Section 81.1. So that's where our land use bylaw describes where, because this is adjacent to a multi-lot subdivision, that it becomes a discretionary use application. The application was referred out to county staff with no issues or concerns being received pertaining to the proposed development. Scroll down, you can see, so the red box there identifies that is lease site number 7. And that is where the applicant is proposing to place the sea can. And if you scroll down to the next page, Andrew, it'll give you an example of, that's what the sea can will look like once it's placed on site. The development does meet all the required setbacks. And so just a little bit of a side note on this one. We did refer this application out to the town, and we got an email back from them yesterday with some conditions that they would like to have added out. I handed the sheet out to everyone's desk here. So I would like to make and add a couple of conditions verbally that we'll write into the, if approved, we'll write it into the permit. So I'll just speak to those now. So the sea can, the condition of the permit will be that the sea can must be contained within the hangar lease limits of site 7, lease site 7. Another condition will be that the hangar must be positioned in such a way that deliveries will be able to be made from the rear without entering onto the tarmac in the front. And the applicant will ensure that the sea can, while placed on site, will be maintained in a neat and orderly way and not become an eyesore. Probably a little better wording for it, but basically that's the condition that we'll be looking.
I think that makes, and that fits with what we already have been doing with those. Any questions, concerns? Mr. Clark?
Just one concern, and I'm glad you addressed that, Rich, was the fact where it was suggested that there was siding put onto it. That would totally affect the integrity of the whole sea can, you know, from a sealed up basis.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I'm glad you picked up, and if it's, you know, well painted and kept up, that's.
Okay. Mr. Stober?
I will make the motion to approve with the additional conditions.
Any questions, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Okay. 6.5, and I think this one would be 53. Yes, we're on back on track. There we go.
All right, so the purpose of this application is to consider an ancillary building oversize, which is a discretionary use in the resort residential community service district. The subject property is located in Buffalo Sands and is surrounded by residential and agricultural properties. The applicant's proposing to construct a 45 by 50 by 20 ancillary building, which is 2,000 total square feet. The applicant is proposing the ancillary building to have an overall height of 20 feet. The applicant is requesting the oversized ancillary building to store watercrafts and other items when not in use. The applicant will finish the exterior as shown in the picture below to match the existing dwelling. The approach has a culvert and clear sight lines in both directions. So the land use bylaw just goes on to describe what the maximum ground floor. So this one is over the permitted use, but below it is within the range of the allowable oversized ancillary building. And then again, to apply for the variance for the height, it has to meet the conditions that it won't interfere with amenities in the neighborhood or affect the neighboring lands. Subject property is a large parcel, but is restricted in developable area due to the placement of the existing dwelling and the topography of the land. The proposed location of the garage is in the low point of the property. So even with the added height, the roof line will be far below that of the existing dwelling. There are no dwellings to the west or the south of the proposed location. So blocking the view of adjacent properties will not be an issue. Therefore, in the opinion of the Development Authority, the proposed development will not unduly interfere with the surrounding properties, nor the ability to the land. The application was referred out to county staff with no issues or concerns pertaining to the proposed development. So you can see in the site plan, that's where the applicant is proposing to place it, adjacent to the existing house. And that's the picture of the house. And then,
So is that the lake that's to this, on the picture?
no, the lake, this is the property that you come to when you pull into Buffalo Sands.
Okay, so what's the property that we're seeing at the bottom of the picture there?
Behind,
No, top picture, just the,
right here,
right there, yeah, what it,
just a back quarter.
oh, it's just their quarter. Okay.
There's no development. Subject property.
And then that's park ground over at Kitty Corner too. Okay.
And then there's an example on page 57 of what the exterior of the building will look like once it's completed. So if the development meets all the setback requirements, the only thing that it needs a variance for is the height restriction. So recommendations that administration approves development permit application DP 25012 with the attached draft development permit and conditions.
Any questions or concerns? Mr. McKay?
I'll move that we approve this discretionary use development permit.
Okay. No questions, no concerns. I'll call the question then. All those in favor? And opposed? We have one opposed, Mr. Grover. That's carried. And then we're on to 6.6 now. And I've got to get to the next page here to make sure I'm, Ward 67, it is indeed 67.
Mr. Chairman, the purpose of this application is to consider an ancillary building standard size in the front yard, which is a discretionary use in the resort residential community service district. The subject property is located in Buffalo Sands and is surrounded by residential properties. The applicant is proposing to construct a 19 by 17 foot ancillary building and place it in the front yard. The building will match the existing dwelling. The approach has clear sight lines in both directions. Right. So, and it just goes through that the, MPC has the authority to grant a variance. This one requires a variance because we have the bylaw that states that ancillary buildings in these districts will not be placed in the front yard. Due to the location of the dwelling and the width of the lot, the applicant has proposed the ancillary building to place the ancillary building in the front yard. There would be no access if it were placed in the back. You wouldn't be able to get past the house without crossing over the property lines. The location of the garage will still allow the applicant to be fully off the street when pulling in or out of the garage, not causing traffic issues. There are several instances where ancillary buildings are located in the front yard in this development as well, so this proposal will not unduly interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood. Application was referred out to county staff with no concerns received pertaining to the proposed development. Site photographs, then this shows the red box is where they're planning to propose to place the building. And then the drawings give you an idea of what it's going to look like with the two garage doors in the front, and it will be, the exterior of it will be cladded with wood to match the existing dwelling on the property. So the proposed development is compliant with all the setback requirements. So the recommendation is that administration recommends the development permit application DP 25016 be approved with the conditions as detailed in the attached draft development permit.
I have a quick question now on page 68. That's a kind of tough photograph to look at here. What's the burgundy there? Is that part of the house? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the house on the property.
And then what's the white?
The other side of the roof, this would be the peak of the roof, and it's just where the light is reflecting in that.
So is there it seems like they got a lot of their lot covered here, don't they?
No, that's all landscaping that you see in the front and their driveway along.
Okay.
The only structure on the property right now is their dwelling.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, no, I just wondered if there was anything there. Any questions or concerns then from anybody else? Mr. Stolberg?
We'll move, it be
Okay.
permit be approved.
No questions and no concerns. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And 6, 7, and 77 of our package.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The purpose of this application is to consider an addition onto a detached dwelling with a variance to the front yard of 12%, which causes it to be a discretionary use in the country residence agricultural district. The subject property is located south of Stettler in the southeast corner of the intersection of Township Road 38-2 and Range Road 20-1. The subject property is surrounded by residential and agricultural properties. The applicant is proposing to build a 12 by 22 square foot addition onto the existing detached dwelling to accommodate a barrier-free access to the dwelling. The proposed addition needs a variance for the setback in the front yard. The applicant has not completed a survey of the property, but when planning staff performed the site inspection and completed the analysis of the information, it appears that the development will require a 10.4 variance. This includes a 3-foot margin of error due to the equipment that was used to measure. The variance of 12% grants the applicant 3 feet of leeway as the GPS coordinates at the edge of the house plus the 12-foot addition show the setback at 112 feet. The applicant is proposing to remove the existing septic tank and install a new one in a different location as per the site plan below. So one of the conditions to be able to grant a variance is that to require the applicant to meet the conditions, it would cause them undue hardship. The applicant has identified that because this is a access to the building for a wheelchair access, that to move it to the other side of the house would basically have to make them reconfigure the entire interior design of their house. So in the opinion of the Development Authority, that would cause them undue hardship and should be grounds for them to be granted the variance. It doesn't cause any safety hazards and unduly interfere with the neighboring properties as well. You go down and they have a pretty detailed site plan as to on page 80 of where the addition is going to be, and you can see that the septic tank was right where the addition is going to be built, so they know that they have to relocate that. They've already addressed that with their contractor. And then on page 682, it shows the drawings of what the addition will look like. So the recommendation from staff is that development permit DP 2508 be approved with the conditions as detailed in the attached draft development permit.
Any questions or concerns? Mr. Grover?
Move it.
Okay. No questions, concerns? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Excellent. Subdivision files. There's no subdivision files. You're getting off lucky, Mr. Teal.
Just wait.
Okay, the development reports. Who's taking this one? Rich or Craig? Let me take it.
So, department report. From January 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2025, planning staff processed 19 development permit applications. This is similar in number to the number of permits received in 2024 during the same period. These permits can be broken down into the following classes of development: residential, commercial, industrial, and institutional. The following figure compares the applications received in each class of development from 2024 to 2025. So the orange is 2025, blue is 2024. So you can see the number of development in residential is almost identical. We have had several more commercial developments in 2025, but in the industrial, we've had none, whereas last year we had 5. In the institutional class, we've had the same amount from last year this year. Out of the 19 development permit applications we've received in 2025, 11 are discretionary use and 8 have been permitted use permits. These numbers can be broken down further for more detailed analysis. Each of the following charts describes exactly what type of development occurred in each development class. So for the types of residential development, we had 23% of them were detached dwellings or placement of, 6% were RVs as dwellings, 6% were solar panels, 35% was ancillary building construction, 12% was ancillary building placement, and 18% is detached dwelling with an addition or with an addition construction. So and that was in 2025. So ancillary building construction leads the types of residential development, followed by detached dwelling placement and construction, or addition, ancillary building placement, RV as a dwelling, and solar panels. The interesting trend is the increased number of ancillary and attached dwelling placements. The figure below details the development classes received in 2025. Development type, we've got hauling gravel, construct automotive and minor RV sales and repair shop, construct a shop, and this is in the commercial district, commercial class, I should say, manufacturing plastic furniture, displaying sheds for sale, construction of a 1,200 square foot building to operate an oil field service and supply minor, freight company, and a food beverage service facility, a home business, Western consignment tax store, and the placement of an ancillary or CCAM. And the institutional was construction of a pavilion. The planning department is expecting a busy second quarter with the change in weather and the number of inquiries with what we have received. That concludes my presentation.
Any questions for Mr. Rich Fitzgerald? I'll get somebody to move his receipt for information. Mr. Clark, all those in favor? Thank you. Let's go. 8.2, page 101. Who's taking this one?
That would be me, Mr. Chair.
Right.
So the next two items are referrals from the town. And the first one is just on the north side of the highway, north of the tracks on the west end. And it's for a 14-acre residential parcel, which you can see with a dash box up on the screen around the trees and the various buildings making up the residential portion of that quarter section. And is separating that out from the balance of the quarter section, presumably in anticipation of sales, so it could move on to be developed as part of the town's planned industrial park under the IDP and under their MDP. The administration doesn't have any concerns with the application, though we do point out this is another example where that existing policy of forget exactly all the numbers, 4.7.22 if I'm correct. The issue of the town not having parcel sizes greater than 1 acre is that IDP policy that we're still working on that doesn't really fit some of these circumstances. And these kind of scenarios, this is the second one we've seen within the last 12 months, do come up when you're transitioning land from a rural setting into its final urban development state. So we continue to advocate for and are still working on changing that particular policy as we work on our draft IDP. The recommendation is to send a letter to the town indicating we have no concerns and that we also are prepared to see a parcel greater than 1 acre size, which that same provision of the IDP does allow us, if the town and county mutually agree, to kind of set aside that size limitation.
So just for my recall, our stuff to the east and south, they have concerns about our property. Too small or too big?
The current policy would be the reverse. So 1 acre is the dividing line, with the current IDP saying the county shouldn't have anything smaller than 1 acre, and the town shouldn't have anything larger than 1 acre.
But here they're proposing something larger.
For the 1 acre.
Yes. So I guess why are we saying that we don't have concerns? Because we're working on a project?
Well, two things. I'll give you my perspective on the policy from 2009 serves neither one of us well. And this is yet another example in an urban context why it doesn't serve well. So if you're thinking about, in my urban context, if I need to create a parcel for a large scale apartment building, I may need more than 1 acre. if I wanted to have a manufactured home park, I'm going to need more than 1 acre. We're not going to have the critical mass to be able to have my project succeed. It's easy for me to say that looking back at 2009 at the work of the authors. On our side, we lose flexibility. So we are still trying to work on that. The other perspective is that when we look at these, it's on how does it affect our ability to plan and manage land under the county's jurisdiction. And this does not give us any challenges whatsoever. We're not responsible for sharing stormwater management. We're not sharing infrastructure. We're not sharing transportation routes. It's not causing a conflict in terms of land use. So from that perspective, it doesn't have a negative impact on the county's own planning efforts.
Okay, but I think they were very adamant about us not having smaller than 1 acre parcels, right? So I guess where I'm getting at is I can't help but feel that they're asking us to do one thing, but then when it comes to them, they're not playing in the same field, or am I wrong on this?
I don't think you're off. That's why we continue to work on it as we hammer out the draft IDP.
Okay. So they're concerned when we do it, but not concerned when they do it. Okay. I do have a little bit of issue with that. Go ahead, Mr. Clark.
Well, just to me, I wasn't involved when properties were annexed, but like that's a very large acreage within town boundaries. It concerns me also what taxes for that individual will become when it becomes developed industrial or otherwise around it. And so possibly maybe these larger acreages, I know would piecemeal things, but they should have remained part of the county. Because we are supposed to be the ones that manage acreages this size. So I do, it's what sauce for the goose isn't sauce for the gander, but in the same sense, these were county residents at one point and long-term places too. So I guess in one sense, for the applicant, I feel for them, but the other sense for the referral, I don't really know if I necessarily agree with the size of these.
And I don't necessarily think that I'm against it. I think there maybe needs to be a reference in the referral that says, we don't have any issues with it, especially with the fact that we are planning to do on our east and south border, we would hope that you
Consideration if it was a
we'll give you the consideration if you give us the consideration. And I don't know if that's what you do with these situations or what's the, just by saying nothing, we're basically saying, yeah, we don't care. But we do care that I don't think it's fair if we do nothing, but yet when it comes to us changing, they are adamantly opposed to it, right? So I don't know if that makes sense to any of the other board members that I'm talking. So, no, you need your.
Mr. Chair, if I recall, when similar issue came to us, I think it was just before Christmas, and we did put in the letter back to them indicating, because I think I heard some of the same sentiments around the table, that if we expected the same treatment, kind of a two-way street theme. Mm-hmm. So that certainly can be repeated in the letter back on this particular issue.
And that's all that I would do is consideration in kind, right? Is what I would like to see happen. So, and to be honest, it means not a lot to us as our east and south boundary because we're not the owners of that, but hamstringing our residents while allowing town residents to have free for all, it should be fair. And I think just consideration in kind, right? We may never get to that point. Our people to the east and south might say, yeah, we only want larger properties, but if they have an option to go smaller, they should have that consideration. Is everybody okay with that? Can I get a motion to have that sent in the letter that we would have a consideration in kind, however we wrote it previously?
Put that motion forward.
Okay. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay. Next up.
Mr. Chair, another referral from the town. So this one is well in the established developed part of the town, but they opted to send us a subdivision referral in any case. When I look at this, I'm not sure if that's an existing duplex we're looking at, or if they're planning to make it a duplex. But it's a simple, straightforward split of a probably traditional 50-foot lot to two halves for a duplex. Again, given the fact that it's well within the established boundaries of the town, there's no direct impact or challenge to any of the county's planning efforts. And the recommendation is to say we have no concerns and thank you for the opportunity for referral.
Mr. Stolberg,
I'll make the motion, we respond with no concerns.
all those questions, no concerns? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Mr. Gender?
I never heard of anybody saying.
Yeah, you heard exactly what we heard. There's
He's
nothing.
abstaining from it.
Can't abstain.
I was just gonna check. I didn't know how long you.
So just to bring you up to speed, there was nothing that we have concerns with this one. So you're in favor?
Yes.
So we're just sending a letter saying that we don't care.
One way of putting it.
It's a blunt, yes, very blunt. Okay. What's up? We have next, no new business, no old business, in-camera session. You want to talk to us a little bit?
I guess I do, Mr. Chair, and maybe to give the CAO time to get over, if we can maybe take a 5-minute break in between, if that's okay.
We are going to have a motion to recess for 5 minutes, and I'm going to take it from Mr. Gender since he's been gone.
I have mine. You can.
All those in favor? Thank you. Oh, Mr. Clark,
I'll move us in camera.
thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. Mr. Solberg,
I move to adjourn.
when's the next meeting for sure?
The 18th, isn't
Next meeting for MPC?
No, what? That's wrong. That's in June.
I think it's 21.
it?
No, the 18th, right?
Yeah, the third one.
Oh, no, May. Oh, May. Yes, May is the 20th. Yeah, yes, May 21st, sorry.
May 21st is going to be our next meeting, gentlemen. We have a motion on the table to adjourn. All those in favor? Thank you.